Hi there, my name is Ashley and I'm the vet for Folly Wildlife Rescue. As you're aware, we're currently in the middle of baby bird season, so we've put this video together to give you a bit of an idea of what to do if you find a baby bird. So the first things to know is always look and assess the situation before you touch and move. So what we don't want to do is be handling these baby birds unnecessarily or bringing them into captivity when they don't need to be. Baby birds will always do best if raised by their parents in the wild, and they have much higher survival rates this way. So we only want to be bringing these animals into captivity and into care if there's a genuine reason to do that. So what we've done is we've put together a series of questions that works in a way of a flow chart to give you a better idea of what decision to make and who to contact should you need further advice. So question number 1, does the bird have feathers? So if the answer is yes to this question, this is likely a fledgling bird that's learning to fly. So leave and monitor for a few hours. So the parents should come back when it calls, and they're likely to be learning to fly, so they could be separated from the parents for a short period of time, and this is okay. If the answer is no, and this bird is naked or does not have any feathers or has very few small sparse feathers, this is most likely a nestling bird. Now, nestling birds are a lot younger than fledgling birds and they're a lot more dependent, so they're not going to survive as well if exposed to the elements. So what to do if you find a nestling bird? If you can see a nest nearby, the best thing to do is put on a pair of gloves so you're not directly touching the bird, and gently replace the bird into the nest. If you can't see a nest, the best thing you can do is give your local wildlife rehab centre a call just to explain your exact situation, and they can then best advise you on what to do. However, these nestling birds will often need additional care if there's no parents around and no nest. Question number 2, does the bird seem bright and alert, active? Is there any signs of injury or illness? So if no, there's no signs of injury or illness to this bird looks really happy, nothing wrong with this bird at all, then great, leave them alone and monitor them for a few hours. If this bird seems unwell, it's got injuries, or it looks like it's had an attack and it doesn't look very well at all, the best thing you can do for this animal is take it to your local veterinary surgeon as soon as possible, or your local wildlife centre if they have a veterinary team, so this bird can be assessed and treated as needed. Question number 3, are there adult birds around? So this is really important. So as we said before about our fledgling birds that are learning to fly, the parents may not be initially there, but they may be in the vicinity. So if you can see adult birds around, that's great. Step back from the situation, monitor for a couple of hours. Make sure when you're observing, you're not right around the area. The adult birds can be really intimidated by our presence, and they might not come back if we're scaring them away. So make sure you're a good distance away whilst you make these observations and see how the adult bird is interacting with the baby bird. If the answer is no and you can't see any adult birds, it's still a good idea to monitor this bird if when you answer the rest of the questions here you think this is still a good plan, because the adult birds may be around, you just might not be able to see them. So if you can monitor from a distance and see if any adult birds come back, that's always the best thing to do. If you're concerned and you don't think this is happening, call your local wildlife rehab for advice, explain to them the situation that you're in, and they can give you some more tailored advice. Question number 4, are there any imminent dangers or predators around? If the answer is yes, first ask yourself, can you remove this danger? So a good example of this is your cat out in the garden trying to hunt the bird? Could you shut your cat indoors for a bit to give the bird some time to reunite with its parents, or move the bird as you need? If the answer is no and you can't remove whatever danger is there, consider placing a pair of gloves on to gently remove the bird to an area where it is safe, but where it's still within the vicinity where you found it, so its parents can find it if it calls. If the answer is no, there's no predators around, then that's great. Continue to monitor this bird, as we said, for around 2 hours to see whether the parents are around and what interactions are going on. And the final question is, has this bird been on its own for more than 2 hours and there's no sign of adult birds around? If the answer is yes, then this animal is likely going to be an orphan bird that does need the care of a wildlife rehab centre and is not being cared for by its parents. Before you remove the bird, it is always best, if you can, to call your local wildlife centre, explain your exact situation so they can give you some tailored advice, and make sure it is still the best thing to do to pick this bird up. If the answer is no and it hasn't been 2 hours yet and you're not sure about this, then continue to monitor from a distance and then re-ask yourself this question series in 2 hours' time and see if anything has changed. And obviously, if at any point in time you're concerned and you think, I'm not sure what's going on, I think there's a problem, just give your local wildlife centre a call, explain the situation, and they'll be able to give you some tailored advice. But in summary, always remember, removing a baby bird from the wild is always a last resort. We don't want to touch and handle these birds because it can put the parents off, and it can mean the parents abandon birds that they weren't abandoning to start with. So we're only lifting these birds from the wild if there is a genuine reason for doing so, and we know that's in the best interest of the bird. If you've got a bird that's injured or traumatized in some way, it's got injuries or illnesses that you think this bird is suffering, then that bird does need veterinary attention, and you should get that to a veterinary surgeon without delay. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that's been helpful.